So there's this clip going viral online of a dozen women being asked the following question: do we need men? Most answered very quickly, no. So why do you think that is?
Because men are useless.
Broadly speaking, I feel like men have proven largely useless, like I think in the political moment.
I mean, and by the way, I want to differentiate between straight men and gay men, because I think I would die without gay men.
Excuse me, the ABC network, which is hosting this show, would have canceled the show if it were a panel of men saying that women are useless. I see the producer right there. I wonder what you think about this one. Y'all would have called them misogynists, and the media would have destroyed the lives of those men. That's something to reflect on. And aside from that, everything you just said were emotional responses, but that's to be expected from a low IQ panel.
You're a single girl and you want to meet guys in the wild, the ratio is
stacked against a girl who can't afford a soft king. You want to meet a guy, go to the grocery store. Good old-fashioned Whole Foods Central Market. You see a guy checking out his groceries, cut in front of him in line, and then hand the cashier your credit card and say, I've got his groceries. Go to a car wash and take the sponges from the employees, and when the guy pulls up, start washing his car and wash it all the way and say, it's free for you, king. Thank you so much. Buy a spa and advertise free massages for all soft kings. And then boom, you've got all the best men in the world coming to get massages. You give them free massages. You'll be so lucky to be able to spend time with them. Drizzle, drizzle. But did you know the best one is actually right here on TikTok? There are so many kings doing live streams all the time. They're talking about science and math and cars and gaming and cymatics and spirituality. Get on their live streams. Start giving them some compliments and then start making some donations. Support these soft kings in their era. Thank you for the roses. Thank you for the roses. Mars is in retrograde and it's drizzle drizzle season. If you want a man, get ready to spend.
Okay, let's clap it up. Round of applause for all and everybody who is just appalled by this drizzle drizzle. Okay, before y'all even think y'all know what I'm about to say, because it doesn't even bother me. But what bothers me is the fact that y'all are in y'all bag over this. Like, y'all are so upset about this. And what I like to know is, when old girl was on that sprinkle movement, fulminating out the mouth, dogging our men out, talking all kind of trash about them, trying to put us on, give us tips, and teach us how to train and move as if they were pets, a part of our lifestyle. Y'all had no words for that. Y'all were hooting, hollering, cheering it up, sharing with your friends, tagging this person, you know, oh yeah, that's racist. Oh my God, this, that, and the third. But now that somebody else has started this drizzle drizzle movement, y'all got all the issues in the world. And all I like to know is, why?
Your boy just...
When men fail to lead, the children rebel and the women take over.
It's a hard thing to admit, but it's understandable why they would choose to go their own way. And that's what's scary, is there's actually a rational reason why they would do that.
Men going their own way. And you can think what you want about it, but this is a really big problem for women, for us, for our future, for families, for you to find a partner. If a population of good men are walking away because they're fed up with women.
If you're being told all your life that you are bad and wrong just for being a man, and that you have toxic masculinity for being a man, and that, you know, women, there's this famous expression that, you know, a woman needs a man just like a fish needs a bicycle. And that men are basically useless. And that men are terrible, and that, you know, women are superior.
Our society is very callous towards men. The only message most men hear in the world is that they're a bumbling buffoon. The TV shows are full of idiot men. Commercials show men as buffoons. The society is against them. All they hear about is what idiots men are.
It's the mass of women that are taking over the culture and representing women. They're loud, they're mean, they say they want equality. Why are they not protesting in the streets for the changing the laws for alimony or child support or child custody? Because they don't want equality. They want superiority.
The male gender has more of a slave state, and it's because men are now subjugated to the law and to women, and nobody really believes it, except the men who go through, say, the court. But most men think that they're exempt from that until they end up in a bad situation.
So for a lot of the men, and a lot of them have gotten screwed over in terrible relationships and divorces and gotten their kids taken away from them. So it's an understandable response.
In the United States of America, as a man, you can't speak up. I think most women tend to be very, I'm stereotyping, but they tend to be more collectivist. They tend to sort of be more in that socialist mindset. So I don't know that you're going to see a huge change. I think the change will have to come from men.
The lives of women will not change until the men get the opportunity to also examine and define and change their lives. In many ways, I sometimes think that the 20th century was the century where the women made all these massive changes, and the 21st century will be the changes that the men will make, partly in adapting to the changes that the women have done.
And those men are doing something about it. They're saying, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not getting married, or I'm divorced. They don't sit around just trying to live their life through women. They actually have lots of hobbies. They go out, they buy that land you were talking about. They're out there getting motorcycles. They're having a good time, and they're enjoying life without having to deal with the stress of the women and the society that tells them they have to have a woman in their life.
How would you feel? I mean, you know, you're not going to feel that attracted to a woman or care to be loving towards her or romantic towards her. So this men going their own way is a reaction to that. I really think it's a rational reaction to that. Men are finally like, hey, we've given you all you want. You know, you are equal in every way, and then you're still shaming us.
Have a man salty balls coming in. We're gonna chop it up. We're gonna talk about the psychology behind the soft guy era, how the soft guy era is changing the world, is changing the West, it's changing how men think about dating, it's changing how men think about relationships. I've said before many times in the past, as a licensed therapist, that needs drive behaviors. When men are not getting their needs met, something happens. Something happens when men are not getting their needs met. They become less productive and they become indifferent. And it appears that men are becoming indifferent, guys, in these modern times, as they don't see the benefit of dating. Get your pen and paper ready, guys. We're going to kill the game on the night with my man Saul. We're about to kill the game, guys. Share this stream, donate to the channel. This is another part of the Manhood Chronicles, where the soft guy era changed dating forever. And the psychology. Let's do it.
Fate is before you. Choose wisely.
Guys, we're about to kill it in a minute. Get your pen and paper ready, my man Deke. We're going to take it to a whole nother level tonight. Guys, get your pen and paper ready on this live stream. Trying something different on today. And guys, we're about to take it to a whole nother level. Let's go. We don't agree on all things or ideologies, but tonight we come together as allies of a common cause only to dissipate once the crisis is over. Now listen, I'm about to drop some fire for your mind, but before I drop that fire, let's explore why we are doing the Manhood Chronicles. All right, guys, greetings as we bring it to you live from the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. Guys, we're going to chop this thing up on today, and we're going to be talking about the peril associated with dating in modern times. We're going to be talking about the peril associated with dating in modern times. I got my man Deacon Saul in the house. Deacon Saul in the house, a licensed clinical professional like myself. And we're going to be talking about why so many men are checking out, so many men are embracing the soft guy era, and the implications of the soft guy era and then their role in the community. How you doing, Deke? What's going on, brother?
Hey, how y'all doing, man?
What's going on, man? The soft guy era is a new phenomenon. What does that mean to you when you hear about this new phenomenon called the soft guy era? And also the implications associated with it. What does that mean to you?
I think that it's a variant of, and I think it's ironic that today is the 2-year anniversary since the fall of, the late, great Kevin Samuels. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace. I think it's a combination to where he would say, seek the best versions of yourself, okay? And I think a lot of the stuff has been, leaned on from a sort of materialistic sort of standpoint, and people haven't really thought about the best version of yourself. Also includes, your self-esteem, your, spirituality and other aspects of self. And I think they see it as problematic because once you know yourself and you know your own value and you know what you're going to tolerate and what you don't have to tolerate, and having that level of assertiveness about you, it becomes problematic. I mean, never have I seen anywhere else in social media in my life since social media has been around, have I seen so many women say, oh my God, my phone is dry. Oh my God, nobody's really trying to reach out. Nobody's in my inbox. Oh my God, these guys are really, really serious about, not talking to us. Because they're starting to recognize that, we've had enough of their games.
Right. So. Right. You're what I call a baby Gen X. You're a baby Gen X. And I'm sure the dating has changed a lot. What's the biggest thing you've seen with dating in modern times compared to maybe your early 20s? They would suggest that there's a crisis going on in modern dating and relationships. And we're going to look at it also, Deacon, from a perspective of psychopathology. We call it psychodynamics also, and how it all interplay in dating and relationships. I think I think it's men saying enough is enough. I think it's men expressing that they deserve, or more or less realize that they have a lot more worth than what the world is giving them, and that masculine heteronormative men are not going to settle for mediocrity. What would you say about that?
I would say, to answer your question, as far as what I've seen, I think that dating has been a lot more transactional in nature. That people just come out with what their intentions are. Why don't you cash at me for the box, or why don't you do this, that, and the third? Buy this bag for the box. And there's a lot more people who is simping. I think that we've kind of scaled it back. People are being a little more aware.
In my soft guy era, we would no longer be pumping our own gas.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's all good. I would say that that's what people have been doing, those two things. But I think as people are in an environment where information is being more distributed, they're becoming a little more aware as to what these games are, and they're choosing to be indifferent. They're choosing to more or less globalize dating. I mean, just like there was in the 1960s and 70s and stuff like that, deindustrialization had set upon the masses when it came to factory work, right? Once that happened, these companies started globalizing to other places because they would get a sort of a more quality workforce without actually having to deal with the strikes and all the craziness or whatever the case may be. Well, I would say that when it comes to dating, brothers have had our time as far as globalization when it comes to the dating. We ain't got to deal with the games and the finickiness and the bullshit. You know, it's a very similar thing.
Right.
I digress, though.
You know, you and I both as professional men, we see a lot of different things in therapy. And I think we see a lot of men being conditioned to compromise their power. I think for so long, so many modern women have said, you know, they wanted to be equal with men. But when it comes down to true equality, meaning doing the things they don't want to do, or they want equality of outcomes, equality of opportunity, but they don't want the outcome. What do you see in practice that would suggest that there's a lot of lack of self-awareness with a lot of modern women? And guys, do me a favor, hit the like button, donate to the channel, share the stream. Go check out my man Saul's channel also. He's a licensed professional, highly educated brother. Him and I, we always chop it up in the back. But the psychology on modern women and broken women, the soft guy era in the dating scene. What do you see in therapy that would suggest that there's a crisis when it comes down to the lack of self-awareness and the lack of empathy, you know, outside of the scene, men as a utility?
What I've seen is the refusal to, one, acknowledge, two, to move toward any sort of reconciliation. And before you can even move toward any reconciliation, one has to apologize, right? And then the other part of it is, you know, all these different tactics like gaslighting, playing victim, you know, being selective about what sort of practitioner or techniques, you know, anything and everything when it comes to the effort being put into denial rather than just simply conceding and saying, hey, I am the problem, you know, my behaviors are the problem, and that I actually want to change. And in fact, you know, some will go as far as going to therapy to find words to use to continue to play their professional victimhood to weaponize against the men. But, you know, as we're in this age where we're continuing to peel back the onion more and more and more, people are becoming more and more hip to these sort of narcissistic traits, these dark triad traits or whatnot, these, you know, personality disorder traits and whatnot, and the harm they're doing when it comes to people in their families, their communities, their relationships with friends, along with their romantic relationships. It's a problem, you know. The soft guy era is a response to these sorts of tendencies where you use indifference, almost like gray rocking, to address it. You know, being, you know, non-responsive. You know, you're neither here nor there. You're actually using self-care, and this is, you know, part of the responses that you hear. We're considered selfish because we're choosing to opt to care for self, to be introspective, you know. But that's what I observe.
Right. You know, what is your greatest challenge? And we'll look at it in a minute, but actually I ask you in a minute, hold tight. I might ask you in a minute, hold tight.
In my soft guy era, we would no longer be pumping our own gas. When we pull up to the gas station, ladies hop out the passenger seat and pump the gas while we sit in the car and watch TikTok videos. And we are now also requiring at least $100 to be spent on us on the first date. If you can't afford it, you shouldn't be dating anyways.
What's the biggest struggle that you see with letting men know what their power is, Saul? What's the biggest struggle that you have with trying to facilitate the men what their power and their worth is? What is the biggest struggle that you have?
I would say ingrained sympathy and cultural attitudes about you know, this sort of archaic version of chivalry or whatnot, you know. I think those are the biggest barriers, you know, being seen like they're less of a man and stuff like that. As a result of, you know, I think those are the biggest barriers, to be honest with you.
You say ingrained simpistry?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Have you ever been a simp, man? And if you did, tell the young man how you broke that simp code, man.
I mean, I think we all have to a degree, one way or another, you know.
Right.
You know, I could say, you know, I would say, you know, college or whatnot, you know, and how I actually broke it was, you know, recognizing, like, you know, when you think about it, how am I supporting and helping this person where, you know, they're getting support from their father, right? So I'm like, well, wait a minute, they're getting support from their father, they're getting support from me. And, you know, we're about to graduate and they get a job. It's like, where's all this money going? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, just really, really following the money, you know. But yeah, I think everybody's been to that point. But you have to recognize it and say, hey, you know, this is what the limits are. Even if it costs a relationship, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Because it's not going to change. It's not. You know, I think that people think that they can go and change these women. If you get somebody used to a certain standard or quote unquote lifestyle, and you want to try to, snatch off a parasite and stuff like that, then you better be prepared to end that relationship. There's no way you're going to change that person. It's not. You better be okay with walking away. You know, I think people think that, you know, oh, well, I'm going to stop my simpistry and everything is going to be all the same. No, you know, you got to be willing to, dial it back. You really do.
Yeah, you know, I think these shows that we have and so many men talking in general, one of the things I talked about in the past is that the internet has become like a cyber group therapy. One of the major components of this cyber group therapy is it's what we call corrective recapitulation. That means to go back and change what you messed up, the things that rendered you hopeless in the past. You're going back to correct it because it damaged you or held you a slave, and then you're trying to move forward. But also, Saul, I think the universality of brotherhood, sharing information, and men across the world are sharing it. One of the biggest stigmas that people have when black men talk about their issues, they are always, some women say that black men are always talking about their women, which they don't understand that white men are saying the same thing. And they're saying that, man, because it's not because they don't want intimate relationships, but they're frustrated. And when men are not getting their needs met, they're not at their best. I stand firmly that men and women are better together. When men and women work together as a team, they have better outcomes. But sadly now, because we live in such a gynocratic culture, when men try to assert or say what their needs are, then it's a problem. And because of that problem, men tend to suffer in silence. What are some of the remedial factors, Saul, that you say to men that have not realized what their power is? And what healthy tools do you give them to help them eradicate some of their simp tendencies?
I would say, you know, to answer, that was a double-barrel question, but, you know, from what I understand, you asked him, what are some of the factors in them not necessarily realizing it?
So you're right, it was double-loaded. So let's go back. These men are simping. What tools did you give them to reduce that so that we won't have more soft guy errors? How about that?
I mean, I think that, you know, really sitting back and assessing resources, you know, it boils down to resources. Resources could be emotional, labor, and energy. It could be time, you know. I mean, this is why they talk about time being spent. It could be attention being spent, right? Mm-hmm. You know, when you was in middle school, guess what? You didn't have no money to spend, but you did have time to spend. So, you know, that girl that, you know, you passed notes with in exchange and she played games and this and that, you know what I mean? That's a version where we're being predisposed or trained to be simps. These are simp camps. You know what I mean? And so you need to more or less debrief and think about, you know what I mean, and assess how your resources, time and attention and all that is being used, and ask yourself, how much do you want to give? And it should not necessarily be any more than a vast amount of more and substantially somebody else, because simpistry is tantamount to being somebody who's codependent, right? I know people will look at this and be like, oh, we're clinicians and we're talking about this as a phenomenon. I would say simpistry is an offshoot of being codependent. That person who's being used, who over-identifies, who over-empathize with the person who's actually subjecting them to some sort of power dynamic. They float in that sort of orbit. So if you're losing your sense of self, okay, you're losing a sense of your own direction and things like that, then, one must assess that. You all can look it up, codependency, okay? That's what I would say.
Right. That makes sense. I'm gonna play a little bit of this clip. We're gonna continue to break this thing down. Guys, share this stream, hit the like button, donate to the channel when you can. Hold tight. Let me pull this up real quick. Let's actually play a little. Hold on.
And I see all you females talking about, oh, soft guy era. You like men. If you like men, just say you like men. You want a female to take care of you. Stop yapping. It's getting broke. And this girl gonna have the nerve to ask me what I want to eat, and I said nothing. And she had the nerve to come home with food for herself and nothing for me. Even though I said,
weak psychology, Saul, has been the linchpin that many have used to more or less convince men that they were inadequate and or inferior. I think it's a good method. We call it a paradoxical directive in therapy, but a paradoxical directive also is a form of reverse psychology. Why do you think this new reverse psychology is actually shocking a lot of these women that have narcissistic traits? Because that's exactly what it is, and they have narcissistic traits. But why do you think it's shocking a lot of these women from a clinical perspective, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, if we're going to operate under the condition that there's some sort of massive version of a zeitgeist of narcissism, then we're going along with the framework that there is, a sort of collective narcissistic rage. Okay, how dare you? How dare you think?
Right. Yeah.
How dare you, empower yourself? Okay. How dare you rebuke my sort of sense of entitlement or special treatment or, exceptionalism? That black girl magic, that sprinkle, it is rooted in that there's somehow exceptional, right?
Yes, sir. Right.
That there's somehow or another entitled to people's time, attention, money, resources, and emotional labor. They have sort of grandiose, even though they don't meet those sorts of expectations when it comes to weight, when it comes to class, when it comes to hygiene, when it comes to all these other factors or whatnot, reacting negatively to criticism, okay? Onto them having lack of empathy, and a lot of them exaggerate their achievements onto taking advantage of others. All these things are features of narcissism. Right. And so what you're saying is, a sort of, insult on their ego, and they're raging out. And so at this point, they're desperate,
Right.
And I would say, this is I think that the phase that we're in, because you'll never really truly heal narcissism. That's what people have to realize. When it comes to these personality disorders, I mean, you can treat it, but you can't heal it. Now, the best, I would say, treatment to that, is to change the sort of culture or environment in which you're dealing with this or whatnot. And this is why the passport is the best solution for that. Pour it in yourself. Travel, become cosmopolitan, learn a different language. When you learn a different language, you fire off, you know, different neurons and stuff in your brain that you wouldn't otherwise fire off. You know what I mean?
Right.
These are things that, you know, men could do to pour in themselves as far as increasing their own value. When Kevin Samuels talked about high value men, he wasn't only talking about money.
Right. Shout out to my man, Top Gun. He's always showing love and showing support. He's the #1 sponsor of the stream with the $9.99 super chat. He says, salute, brothers. I just landed in Cali, Colombia. I'm going to enjoy my peace and peace, my peace and peace viciously. You may proceed. Shout out to Top Gun. He's the #1 sponsor of the stream. Thank you, Top Gun. Guys, don't let Top Gun be the only sponsor, guys. Thank you, Top Gun, for being the #1 sponsor of the stream. Also, shout out to my special guest Saul for showing some love. Shout out to my co-guest Match salute to Top Gun, no doubt. As actually now, my man Saul the Ball is the #1 sponsor of the stream. Deacon Saul is the #1 sponsor. I appreciate it. Shout out to Deacon Saul with the 10. And he is the #1 sponsor of this stream, followed by Top Gun, the #1 sponsor of the stream. Hold tight, guys. He is the #1 sponsor.
So I think there's this comment in the chat, and I kind of want to tackle it. I think it's a good point.
Go ahead.
Truth as I know it says, simping is what happens when you don't have a quality family building constitution. Having a personal family constitution solves a lot of problems. Now, what is the Constitution at its core? It is a document with, you know, some core elements and values and stuff like that. That's a living document, right? Mm-hmm. But it would indicate that one would have a plan. And so, you know, there is, you know, some sort of, I guess it's good food for thought in the sense that, you know, some of these simps don't even have a plan. They're just wayward, they're reactive, and, you know, they go to following people and their whims and wishes, and they compromise their own self-identity by being codependent. One big feature of codependency, once again, is not necessarily having a sort of personal identity where you're going according to what people want, looking for validation, looking for somebody to pat you on your head. And it becomes a sort of abusive dynamic where one is either coerced, one is shamed, one leverages guilt, and all these other tactics for somebody who really don't have a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, then you can't lead. And this is what we have.
Shout out to Top Guns. He's the #1 sponsor. He said, I'm a cancer. He said, come on, fellas, support the stream. Shout out to Top Gun. He's the #1 sponsor of the stream. I want to ask you this question, man. We're going to get back into it. Hold tight. But I think I asked you earlier, what did you see in your earlier 20s in dating that you don't see now? What is the radical change that you see, that you saw in your 20s that's greatly dissipated in these modern times?
I would say in my early 20s as opposed to now would be hypersexuality. That's increased. I would say the sort of expectation of doing a whole lot for nothing, you know, women have these sorts of lines of demarcation when it comes to whether or not somebody's talking to them, to being a friend, to somebody being in a relationship with them, and this, that, and the third. And I think that, us as young men, more or less have, kind of caught up to that, as far as being hip to all these different dynamics and things like that, these women were told, because they've been playing the game. And, we've been buying them dinners. We've been, doing what we can to look for either that validation, whether it's monetarily or sexually or any other regard. So in regards to these young men, I think that they're becoming a little more equipped to deal with the foolery in recognizing the plays, pattern recognition. There's only so many different plays that they're going to run. And, these young men are being a little more equipped to deal with it. I mean, I give it to them, to be honest with you. I really do.
Right. I think the internet was a blessing and a curse for a lot of modern women. It gave them the attention that they wanted from men, but it also exposed them for their dark nature. And I think because so many men are seeing it in full view, now it's led to what's called self-sabotage. Many times women and men commit self-sabotage in relationships psychologically for a myriad of reasons. A lot of the self-sabotage that we see with men is that they compromise their power and they don't know what their worth is. But women also commit self-sabotage, Saul, because they don't see the value and the importance of a man outside of utility. While men knowing their worth, a change of time. So we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But let's look at a little bit more of this clip real quick. Hold tight.
I didn't want anything to eat. That didn't mean I didn't want anything to eat. Where's my food? You're supposed to be a mind reader. Now, can I get a drizzle drizzle? Soft guy era, it's our time. And you females that's on the street, y'all need to step y'all game up, because y'all are losing to these females that's in the penitentiary system. They got dudes lined up just sending them money. Matter of fact, all the friends that I got them a woman that's in the penitentiary system. Y'all got to step y'all game up, ladies. But going about y'all little business.
One of the things, man, when it comes down to dealing with people with narcissistic traits is that you got to have boundaries with narcissists. You got to set boundaries, those that have narcissistic traits. And we know that NPD tends to run more prevalent in men, but a lot of modern women have narcissistic traits. Setting boundaries, and that's number one. Why are boundaries so important? That's number one. But then number two, why are men beginning to know their worth are changing up the times?
Well, I'm going to say this much. Okay, let's start here. I agree with reservation that men have been recorded with more narcissistic traits. But one has to think about the field of mental health in general, from psychology to counseling to social work to marriage and family therapy, onto other ancillary fields. And one has to think about the tool itself and whether or not it adequately measures narcissism within women. Because the way they externalize narcissism could be inherently different than the way men do. So, of course, if you create an instrument and tool that, detects more of the male-centered behaviors as associated with narcissism, which could be like criminal behaviors, where there's violence being done and so forth, you're not going to necessarily catch a lot of the nuances that women do, if that makes any sort of sense. Right. I think that, they probably should redo the tools so that, there's some level of validity or reliability with the instrument. That's one thing I wanted to, put out there, because, there's some level of bias there, and even inter-rater reliability as far as the way that tool is rendered. Okay. The second thing is, I believe that, when it comes to boundaries, there's all these different, what they call, quote unquote, boundary trespassing tests over and over and over and over. As Dennis loves to say, they're shit tests, over and over and over. And you may or may not necessarily even recognize them. But if you're dealing with somebody where you got to constantly play tug of war with, continue to play games and stuff like that, and there's no peace. I mean, what fun is in that? You know what I mean? Recognize your value, recognize your worth. I mean, there's always going to be something. I mean, you set up a boundary where you're like, hey, I mean, I need to get off the phone, and that person continues to talk. Or you might say, hey, I got work, or that person shows up to your job. You might say, hey, I need to do some family stuff. Oh, well, I want to meet with your family. These are all shit tests because it caters in their mind that, yes, you usually have these rules and you usually have these sorts of standards. But guess what? I am the exception, so that shit doesn't apply to me. That's what they're effectively saying. But you as a man, you're like, oh, well, all right, I cave in and this, that, and the third. That's the problem. That's the problem there. I've heard people say in this space, oh, y'all know there's that pretty girl privilege where, y'all know y'all wouldn't be treating these pretty chicks like y'all would, treat these ugly chicks. Well, here's the problem. You're going to deal with, emptiness and ugliness within the soul. Treat them all the same. A standard is a standard because you're actually supplying that narcissism and you're supplying that sort of exceptionalism that they believe that they have. And therefore, we're dealing with the bullshit that we deal with. Now, when you do go out and you see them in bars or clubs and other places and things like that, and you see the big bitch who you perceive as quote unquote blocking, or you see all these different dynamics that you can't even necessarily explain, those are somebody quote unquote who's a narcissist, and you have all the flying monkeys around them acting as their sycophants and stuff like that, treating it as though there's some sort of royal court, queen bee mentality, mean girls. All these things have been studied, but they haven't been studied as much when it comes to intersexual relations. They're usually studied when it comes to intrasexual relations because men, they don't give a damn about. And I digress.
Right. Hold tight. Let's get back into it. Hold tight. Let's see, where's that clip at? Hold on. Guys, share the stream. Share the stream, please.
We got the 4B movement. We got the soft guy movement, the 5B to combat the 4B. And women, want to be left alone, but they still want to get married at a certain age. And men don't want to provide, but they still want submissive wives. Let's clean it up and let's get to the root of all of it. It's because we don't have godly relationships. Our relationships are 100% for us and what we want to do and what we feel and what makes us comfortable. A lot of us don't even save anything for marriage. There are a lot of things that we give people that have not committed to us in any way that we don't have anything to experience for the first time with our spouses. And that in itself is going to cause a major disconnect with a lot of marriages. You didn't save any.
Taxation without representation. There's a term Saul that created called hoflation. Hoflation is on the rise, but we're gonna talk about that. But in the meantime, shout out to my man Top Gun. He's the #1 sponsor of the stream, followed by Salty Balls. I said, gentlemen, I would suggest you look at some old King Griffith Jr. highlights and master the art of walking off that would damage on the narcissistic ego. Yeah, and that means you ignore them or set boundaries. And the narcissistic rage happens, or the narcissistic injury happens, it's when you don't give them your power. But this young lady talked about people, or many modern women, saw not really having anything of worth to give to a man, and but yet their standards are still high. What would you say about that?
I mean, like I said, it's a part of the culture reinforced with, black girl magic onto, corporate entities, academia, and ideology that they've been kind of infused with, and I mean, this is what it is, I think that's where that comes from. That's the source of it. And so because of it, they think that, they don't necessarily have to invest any sort of time, money, energy, or effort as far as any relationships go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But as far as I'm personally concerned, and I would encourage all you other brothers to consider is, you know, the best way to beat a game is not to play it at all. Leave them the fuck alone. You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know what I mean? They're going to whine. They're going to complain. They're going to, you know, shame. I mean, what do you have to lose anyway? You know, do what's in your best interest, you know?
Are you beginning to see more men do that, man?
I am, you know, when it comes to that sort of reliable dinner date that, you know, these young ladies would have, you know, all that is being soaked up. You know what I mean? Somebody paying their little bills, somebody, you know, how they piecemeal different people into different roles and stuff like that. I think I do. I mean, like I said before, this has been the first time in social media era have I seen people as desperate. Man, I got some people on social media that I know who are doctors, who are lawyers, okay, who are engineers. And these are women, okay, who quote unquote otherwise more or less would be modest, who are actually throwing up thirst pictures in advertisements because it's so damn bad out there.
Wow.
This is the truth. This is where we are. You see what I'm saying? Like throwing up advertisements is so bad. I mean, we're holding the line.
Right. And I think hoflation's messed a lot of these women up. It's made average women think that they are better than what they really are. And I think men having these conversations has galvanized men to the point they know what their worth is. They're not going to compromise their worth. And I think a lot don't like it. The shaming language don't work anymore. It's actually funny. Guys laugh at it and they mock it. And I think men are beginning to realize that they do have power and worth, that there has been some criticism to the soft guy era. Some guys say they're not being soft guys, but the soft guy era is just really satire. It's satire, you know, but I still think men are still so hardwired to provide that they give their power away. I get it. You know, I don't mind paying, but if you got a woman making 60,000 and you making 70, I'm not paying 100% of the bills. I refuse to. We're going to split it up 60-40 or 70-30. But I'm not paying no damn, I ain't paying 100% of no bills. But hold tight. Go ahead, man.
So it's funny that you said that, you know, that some people are emphasizing that as sarcasm. But the fact that we even got to emphasize that, you know what I'm saying? Why not just let it be? You know what I mean? Yes, it is one thing to use comedy to mock somebody as far as their ridiculousness or whatnot. But I'm just gonna break it down to you like this. Let's say you have a quote unquote middle class Black family. I'm just gonna give a hypothetical here, okay? And you have two kids that were twins. One's a boy and one's a girl. They're both 18, okay? Guess who gets money to go to college or to support them while they're in college? Guess who gets a car?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Guess who gets their rent paid for?
Right.
I'm just asking you. Obviously,
of course, the woman get hers paid for.
Okay, now watch this. Mm-hmm. That young man, he has to get it out of the mud, right? He has to bust his ass, even if he has to work, right? Now, meanwhile, that young man, right? He's expected for his peers to pay for dinners and to have his own place, in which he has to work full time to get, right? Meanwhile, what's developing on the female twin side, the sort of ego that all of her merit is based on her, not necessarily that she's had free dinners, she's had her college dorm stuff paid for, she has her car note paid for, her car insurance paid for, and stuff like that. And then when she goes off to grad school or get her first job, guess who's more likely to buy a house than not?
Mm-hmm.
Who is? I'm just asking.
You said guess who's more likely to do what? Buy what?
To buy a house.
What you mean?
The young lady.
Yeah, right. Because they got access. Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, and they've had, you know, because they've had simps not only support their lifestyle, but they've also been supplemented by family members and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So they get addicted to a certain lifestyle. They get addicted to simps and stuff like that. You have the young men hopefully, or if they make it through, we talk about poor outcomes among men in colleges and universities and stuff like that. This is one example of how that happens. You follow me?
Mm-hmm,
and so, meanwhile, the young lady, she thinks that, because of her own merit, she enters the corporate world. She has the same sort of attitude, and I'm the boss bitch, and I did this by my own merit and stuff like that. When if everything, would you say all things being equal, more brothers would actually be having better outcomes, more home ownership, so forth. Now, the importance of the mentioning the sort of home ownership part, or getting an apartment, or entering the corporate world, guess who simply controls the dynamics in a relationship? They do.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to date anybody as their peers. They're not going to date anybody as their peers because, they're intimidated by the level of intelligence. They can't play those games. But I didn't want to too much detract. I just kind of wanted to point something out.
Fair enough. That's a fair point. Excellent point. Hold tight.
Anything from marriage, boo. Dating is not necessary. Sex is not necessary. The whole girlfriend-boyfriend thing is not necessary. Well, tell me one time in the Bible, it talks about a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Tell me one time. You can't, because it doesn't. Girlfriend-boyfriend does not exist. We made that up. And we see where relationships are today because we made this up. You don't need a whole plethora of men or women available to you. You just need one person that God will reveal to you, and he will if you desire that.
I don't want that, but I'm gonna cry. I'm trying to get this off, and I need a screwdriver. I just wish someone would pull over and help me.
Womp womp. I'm in my soft guy era. If we break down on the side of the road and you can't change the tire, you can't even assess what's wrong with the vehicle, you are less than a 3 and you don't deserve a king like me. I'm sorry, but I'm in my soft guy era. If you don't even know how to use scissors properly, you are not worth my time. I'm in my soft guy era. If you can't drop $100 on my synthetic oil change, you're legit a 0.
So the reverse psychology goes, man. It's powerful reverse psychology. And even though it's satire, some are taking it serious. What do you say to the critics? They say, they're not going to embrace that soft guy era. They're going to still be traditional. When so many modern women are not traditional.
Well, you know what? They get what's coming to them, so they invested into an inflated ego. Right. And the minute they want to try to pull back, what do parasites do when you try to kill a parasite in regards to a host?
Right.
What does a parasite do?
Right. They keep sucking.
Or they release that poison. They'll try to destroy you.
Right.
Just like, most of these NBA players, I mean, I know that there's these talks and stuff like that that coaches have with these NFL, NBA players, so forth. But guess what? Unfortunately, because of these folks not being properly socialized with, masculinity and, boundaries and things like that, what ends up happening? Ain't that damn many people raping these damn women in the world who are high profile and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost always some sort of domestic violence issue, or some sort of inside tea of somebody being quote unquote LGBTQIA, or allegations and stuff like that. And it ain't nothing but finding a way to get the bag. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. How many young men are actually socialized to the sort of legal system when it comes to quote unquote DV, or when it comes to divorce, or when it comes to child support, or when it comes to being accused or anything like that? Most men actually become socialized to it until something actually happens. And guess what? By then it's actually too late.
Right. That's true. That's powerful, and that's true. I think it is too late. But of course you're gonna have your detractors, because so many men have been trained to serve instead of knowing what their worth is. Hold tight.
Whoever fought for women to get jobs
I am so tired. I want to just put my feet up. The pain follow me. Deal with trauma privately. Oh my God. I don't want to be a burden. I handle things defiantly. Spend a decade searching.
You talked about seeing so many women that are desperate with billboards and more or less decrying the intimacy of a man. When you look at it clinically, what do you think is the paradox or the problem with that particular issue, with so many women now finally beginning to realize they don't have as much power as they have, as they think they have?
What I think it is clinically, I mean, like I said, I think that, it's a level of narcissistic rage. And, another thing, I mean, there's two things I want to answer that with. Hey, gentlemen, keep it up, man. I've never seen so many TEDs on Facebook ever, man. I've never. I'm talking about some quality folks. But guess what? I ain't going. I'll tell you why. Because we've established a hard boundary. And guess what? Keep on with the other options elsewhere. And let's just let it be what it's going to be. Those guys who want to continue to subject themselves to this sort of treatment is going to end up being in the blender of the system, the sort of meat grinder that it is, the destroyer of men, and they'll be consumed. But as far as they go, it is ultimately push and pull. Push and pull when we're dealing in personality disorders is, and shout out to AC for saying it, is quote unquote the reach back, okay? Right? With the love bombing. I want you to come back so I can control you. Not that I'm actually apologizing.
Right.
Yeah,
good point.
Sort of good faith effort to try to reconciliate or do any of this other stuff. That's why I take the stance of, screw that damn table. Ain't no table. You know what I mean? Ain't no damn table.
Screw the table.
Yes.
I was about to ask you that, man. You said screw the damn table.
Yeah, set that table on fire. And
set it on fire.
Yeah, use it for barbecue coals. As far as I'm concerned. As far as it goes, that's what the reach back is. Okay, when you look up push and pull, that's the love bombing. That's to try to get you back in to reestablish control. Because they feel like there's power lost or whatnot.
Right. I totally agree. You're correct. So your premise is it ain't nothing genuine about it. It's just a power grab.
Yeah, 100%. And now it is simply intrasexual competition once again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a shortage of men out there now. So, if I do have one, at least a quality one, I'm still that exception. No, don't give them, that sort of fuel for that supply, or whatever the case may be. Because one thing about people with PD features, personality disorder features, is that, just like creatures of habit, they're going to go back to it. You know what I mean?
Right. And they always go back to it. Especially with the devaluation. That's one of the critical pieces that you see in a lot of narcissists. It's a devaluation piece where they begin to devalue you. And when they feel like they're losing power, then they start reverting from within.
So here's.
Go ahead, man.
I was gonna say here, you got to be mindful of some of the language that some of these women use with each other when they're speaking about us as men, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have your man trained?
Right.
What does that even mean? Trained.
Right.
Acting as though we're animals to be domesticated for use and consumption. Right? That's that devaluation part. For you to come back so they can quote unquote brainwash you or retrain you or whatnot. You know what I mean? And the best sort of, antidote to any of this is being indifferent, gray rocking, not giving a fuck, not caring when it comes to good attention or bad attention.
Right.
I have nothing to do with you. Do you know how I would say within the past month, man, and I'm talking about different exes and stuff like that, I would say I've been reached out on an account by maybe 4 or 5 different people, at least 18 texts. Some people I have to block and maybe even seriously consider electronic or even digital restraining orders. It's that damn bad.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
serious. I'm dead serious.
Mm-hmm.
It's that bad.
So you said what kind of orders? Say it again, brother.
Digital or electronic restraining orders, man. It's that bad.
What's the electronic restraining order? What is that?
Well, continued contact. You know what I mean? You calling and texting, 3 and 4 in the morning, sending pictures and things like that, trying to reminisce about the good old days and all this other craziness and stuff like that. Tell me something one way or another. I don't owe nobody an answer. I'm just going to leave it on red.
Right.
That's the effectiveness of the gray rock method.
Right. So basically, gray rocking just basically means you're indifferent.
Yeah, you're indifferent. You don't care. You have to create this sort of mindset as if you are a gray rock. You're neither here nor there. Wind will come, you're a gray rock, you're still there. Fire will come, you're still there. Water will come, guess what? You'll sink to the bottom of the riverbed because guess what? You're a gray rock. You see what I'm saying? Despite the elements, despite the games, despite what goes on around you, you still that rock, and you're still steadfast in your place no matter what they do. And eventually, guess what happens with people and things in an environment where rocks? They stay there for ages and eons, and they're still planted and fixed as they were despite the environment. That's how you got to do it. And that's the pinnacle of manhood. Standing on your own business, right? Being a rock,
right? And being indifferent.
Yeah, exactly.
Being indifferent, right? Being indifferent, and that's why I hear some of the women say that women don't know how much power they got. Well, I think both don't know. I think men have more power, even though men and women both equally have power to some degree. I think because men are the natural creators, we have more power. But I'm gonna finish playing the part of this clip. Hold tight.
You guys fought for these rights. You wanted to get this money. You wanted to get in the field. So get to it. See, for generations, we let you women get away with this long enough. We're tired. We've been doing this for the longest. So no, woman up. You cannot put those feet up and relax, baby girl. You gotta get to work. We are in our soft guy era now. We realize you women can work now. We don't want a broke woman to leave. We don't want to pay 100% of everything. If we're going to do that, we would rather be alone. Just be ready to pay for some.
Yo, I am me. And I agree with that. I mean, women are equal to men now. They make as much money or more. A lot make more because, the government incentivizes women, and give them, a lot of the jobs that were supposed to be given to men, especially the black men, that was given to white women and black women. And so I agree. You're not getting nothing traditional. You're not getting nothing wholesome. The majority of them are not virgins, and that's fine. They don't even have low bodies. So why am I paying full price like traditional men, like your grandfather and your great-grandfather and your father? I don't see the benefit of doing that anymore. What's your take on that?
I think that, this sort of sarcastic response is, pointing to the sort of intellectual dishonesty of the sort of fourth wave of feminism. And the fact that, they complain about, quote unquote, the patriarchy. They complain about, quote unquote, chauvinism and all this old craziness and stuff like that. But, they benefit the most from it. Okay. They, like you said, equal pay, equal outcomes, equal opportunities and things like that. But yet, they complain about all these, quote unquote, archaic things, but they want to be absent from work whenever they want and still want equal pay, right? They want equal pay and protection without ever having to give up anything for it. They want the benefits of chivalry because, quote unquote, chivalry, which was actually meant for European nobles who actually had some level of chastity, right? Well, wait a minute, this doesn't fit into, quote unquote, this sort of Afrocentricity that they held to. So which one is it? You want to pick and choose what is African in nature or what is European in nature? The greatest common factor amongst any of this is that people pick and choose and cherry pick about what's the most advantageous to them. If they want to use the Bible, they'll use that, so it's advantageous to them. They'll guilt, shame, and blame you for that. If it's, advantageous for them to use medieval chivalry, while at the same time them having natural hair and talking about Black Lives Matter and saying F the patriarchy and Eurocentrism and stuff like that, they will use chivalry. If it's, beneficial for them to say they're modern women and they're independent and stuff like that, when it comes to following your guidance and minding you as a man, they will use that. So at the end of the day, we're basically forcing people to pick one.
Right.
Pick one. Either you're going to walk around with your invisible nuts and man up, as a grown ass woman, because, women have been treated as what you say, special class in the society, along with elders and children. Whenever these societies go to war, even still to this day with selective service, it's still implied that us as men protect the sort of law and order of society, but they're not necessarily contributing as much. They want all the benefits. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even the means to undermine it, even to spite them and their safety. So now that they see that it's a Cold War world out there, even as much as having a damn flat tire, they're breaking down. So I would say as men, we continue to push the sort of gas pedal, and it boils down to pick one. Which one do you want? Do you want chivalry? Do you want modern day feminism? And that's it.
Yeah, and they don't understand. They can't have both. Shout out to Top Gun for the 5. Let me read this comment. He's the #1 sponsor. Top Gun said, guys constantly complain about these selfish heathens, yet it's only 15 in this chat soaking up this knowledge. Makes no damn sense. 5. I know, I agree, Top Gun. It burns me up, man. You put in all this damn work, man. The same brothers showing love, man. Same brothers support it. And I'm telling you, I talk about the salt all the time in the back. I'm going to have to start reconsidering doing different brands of content, man, because it ain't really worth my time to put in hours of editing and don't get no support. But shout out to my man on Top Gun for the 5. The Top Gun's the #1 sponsor of the stream. Guys, share this stream. If you like what I'm doing, you like what Saul is doing, we're giving you clinical expertise, but also we're giving you things from an urban trend perspective. But Top Gun is the #1 sponsor of the stream. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you, sir.
That's a bet, right? That's a deal, right? That's a deal, right? Got 5 on it.
Shout out to Top Gun being the #1 sponsor. Also, his co-part Salted Balls for the 5-10. He said that we gotta call out the she heathenry at its core for the 10. Shout out to Salted Ball for the 10 is him. And Top Gun, the #1 sponsor of the stream. Let's finish listening to this. Shout out to my man Machismo TV. He's coming in showing some love. Great panel and topic. Salute Coach and Salted Balls. Hold the line. Shout out to Machismo TV. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you as you. Top Gun and Saul are the #1 sponsors, followed by Top Gun being the #1 sponsor. And he said, great panel and topic. Salute Kosher and Salted Balls. Hold the line. That's a very good point or impasse that my man Machismo is talking about. Hold the line. Why do you think it's so important for men to continue to hold the line where, in modern times when so many women have narcissistic traits? Why is it so important for men to hold the line, in your opinion?
I mean, that's what people with, narcissistic features do. I mean, I would consider them almost like water, right? Being immersed or poured all over you. They look for chinks in the armor. It's a constant search for, looking for weaknesses, you know what I mean? For them to exploit, whether it's emotional vulnerability, they try to find out things about your past, they try to exploit, to talk about against you for, some sort of leveraging, that's why your mama beat the shit out of you when you was 9 years old and told you ain't shit, those sorts of things, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Remember, shame, guilt, okay, coercion, all these things are currency for the narcissist. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Particularly from the sort of female side. Mm-hmm. Very seldom, and it does happen, we've seen it enough, that they will resort to quote unquote the violence, they tend to want to keep themselves away from the violence. They use proxy violence instead. That's their pick. They, you know, want to use the police or contact your job or embarrass you with your friends and use other forms of violence and things like that. But when it's convenient and they know that they can absolutely get away with it and stuff like that, they will do something to you if you're in a sort of vulnerable state, if you're sleeping, or let's say if you got injured. We've seen that sort of iconic movie where the man was in a wheelchair and how she loved that. There was some level of sickness with her. We've seen it at the end of A Thin Line Between Love and Hate.
Right.
Even Misery, where men were in vulnerable positions and things like that. And usually in those sorts of states, a narcissist will strike or whatnot. You know what I mean? So if you're seeing that, people are constantly playing games, you're constantly going through shit tests, you're constantly being challenged, there's constant attitude and stuff like that. Ain't nobody fighting that damn much about anything. You know what I mean? I mean, it could be about, cooking, and, it could be about, whether or not somebody answered their phone, even the most minuscule stuff. What that's about at its core has to do with trying to establish power. Okay. That's what it's and when you concede and you give up money, time, and resources or energy, and you concede, I mean, even sex, right? Then one has to think about, well, gee, this equates to, giving this person some sort of narcissistic supply. So the best way to beat a game is not to play it.
Right, not to play it, right. And I think Gen Zs are doing it better by not playing the game. I think Gen Zs are doing a better job by not playing the game. Gen Zs really don't care. And people get mad. They don't want to damn do the work to make the proper adjustments. You and I see it all the time in therapy. The level of entitlement. I see so many men compromising their power, and they think they have power, but they really don't have power. Women do have power when they understand how men operate, and when they use their feminine grace to empower their men. But now, because the standards are so low and the vibrations are so low, the power they think they have, they don't have it. I think even simps now are beginning to check out. Simps are not taking women serious anymore like they used to. And you still got simps, but I think men are becoming so indifferent, but not only because of hoflation, but they're becoming indifferent because they're not getting their needs met. How would you respond to that?
Oh, 100%. They're becoming desperate because their needs are not being met. It's actually showing them truly how they will perform without society giving them the sort of, would you say, invisible pedestal.
Right.
Training wheels. It's almost like, in the barber chair, how they have people sit down with the sort of yellow pages and stuff like that. Now they have to really sit in the chair and actually see where they actually perform, because remember, they're the modern woman. They're boss bitches, so whenever they're on the side of the road and it's snowing and it's a blizzard, and they need to change a tire, guess what? Wait them 3 hours that AAA has everybody else wait, or get out of the damn car, put the jack up, you know what I mean? Get that damn wheel key out, unlock that wheel key, and unscrew the rest of the little knobs there and put the other tire on. That's all. Oh shit, damn. This damn tire is low on air, this spare tire. Now I have to navigate this damn scene, okay, to consider where's the nearest gas station so I can get air to actually get back to this this car or whatnot. These are the things that men have to do invisibly that nobody actually talks about to keep order, in our lives and the rest of our families' lives and stuff like that. Since they want to be a man, let them step up and be a man and deal with that type of shit.
Right. And that goes back to the taxation without representation. That goes back to the taxation without representation. Hold tight.
Immediately left this date because when I got out the car, she didn't even have flowers to give me. Oh, you must think I'm a hoe. I can't tolerate disrespect when I'm in my soft guy era. First of all, this girl pulled up in a Nissan Altima. Beat the fuck up, matter of fact. Let me tell you something. All the girls that I've dealt with, they were driving Mercedes and BMWs. Top class, AMG. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of y'all girls are giving fucking broke. If you have a beat up Nissan Altima, I don't think you're in the position to be dating. Especially a guy in their soft guy era. Are you kidding me? I need everybody to listen because I had to break up with one of my girlfriends because she wasn't putting me in my soft guy era. I walked over to the driver's side of my car and she didn't even open the car door. Exactly. I walked over to the driver's side of the car and she didn't open the fucking car door. Don't piss me off. Excuse me, open my door.
Drizzle Drizzle. A lot of y'all girls are clearly showing you have no sense of humor. The joke is going right over your head. The fact is that y'all have been saying the same ridiculous stuff online, and when you say it as a woman, you don't see nothing wrong with it. But hearing those same ridiculous statements come out of a man's mouth, now all of a sudden you take him back and you offended. It's 2024 and I honestly don't understand whether or not you're a woman or a man, why anybody would not be living a soft life. I don't know why anybody would be aspiring for a hard one. Like, make it make sense. It's called a partnership for a reason. Because two people are supposed to be coming together so that they can do for one another equally. You pour into their cup just like they pour into yours. But y'all turn this into a selfish act of you trying to gain something from somebody else and benefit from somebody else, meanwhile not caring what they get in return from you. And as long as you're going into a situation like that, you will always lose. Because you cannot use people like that. You cannot go into a situation and only thinking about the ways that you can benefit from it and neglect the other person involved in it. At the end of the day, if the girls want to sprinkle, the fellas can drizzle. I'm pro everybody being in a soft life era because there's no reason why you should be living a hard life.
Men die off before women at record rates. Many men are saying, why am I being a traditional man in a time where women are equal, they can make as much money as men, and it's compromising my mental health? Now, I get some of the traditional Gen Xers like myself, so they don't want a woman taking care of them. And in theory, that's partially true. I don't necessarily want a woman taking care of me, but I'm not going to spend all my money either. I refuse to. I'm not spending all my hard-earned money. You ain't getting virgins no more. You ain't getting women that are virtuous. Most men are getting women that got children, been ran through severely. And so we ain't going to damn do what granddad and great-granddad did. What would you respond to that, man? How would you respond to that?
If you got somebody demanding to you through price discrimination, where they're going to these different prisons and they go into the block and they go into all these different places, treating them differently, you know what I mean? And requiring the most out of you when it comes to time, energy, and even it boils down to not even necessarily even having the damn box as exclusive. Mm-hmm. You can't even monopolize the damn box because they so damn selfish. You know what I mean?
Right.
Why bother? You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things to where you just simply pour it in yourself. If everybody out here is, in this big battle royale where, they're thinking about self, then I see it as no problem but to do the same. People would try to say, but what about the children? What about the women? What about this? What about that? Guess what? People should have thought about that before we, more or less released the Kraken. It is what it is now. You know what I mean? And I think that, these young men realize that. I commend them. I wholly do. This is where we're at.
Yeah, I think it's where we're at, man, and they're not going back. This world is crazy, man. But what are the characteristics of the soft guy? Why should men abandon traditional ideas? Do you think men should abandon traditional ideas or more or less only give it to women that are traditional?
I think that it depends on context and choice, to tell you the truth. Okay. So in Western society, I think that it would almost be impossible to give any of these women here any sort of traditional treatment. You know, if you go over to a country where, you know, there's some sort of inkling of tradition, then yes, you know what I mean? Because that's reinforced by the culture. Okay, right? But here in this society, you'd be, you know, taking a gamble. You really do. I mean, look at the statistics when it comes to divorce, right? I mean, I should tell you there how much these sort of quote unquote Western women believe in traditionalism, right? So, well, you know, you're not going to change anybody's mind. So, you know, trying to change anybody's mind on a person-to-person level be almost as narcissistic as they have been behaving, you know, thinking that we're the exception. So let's just accept things for what they are from a sort of structural standpoint, where there's some sort of government incentivized fuckery, and actually do what's best for self, and kind of move on to what works for you. I don't think that, you know, one should, you know, take the gamble, because guess what? There was that soft girl movement where, you know, they give the presentation of the smile and, you know, the cooking and stuff like that, but inherently nothing has really changed, because if they were really serious about it, the soft girl era, which was actually supposed to be them, quote unquote, you know, being more feminine and them actually acquiescing to men a little more, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, as far as their soft girl era goes, it was nothing but a whole bunch of like chameleons and stuff like that. Because how do you go from soft girl to city girl that quick?
Right. I agree with that. Shout out to my man Machismo again for the 10. Machismo said, thanks for doubling down on this topic. This satire has been embraced by men globally. He said, fun fact, I've only seen American black men try to clown Drizzle Drizzle. Guy knock. Yeah, wow, that's sad. So basically, Machismo is saying that the black men are the only one trying to downgrade the soft guy era. I want you to respond to that. Shout out to Machismo as he is one of the top sponsors, and also shout out to my man, the International Quiet Storm. He's the second #1 sponsor, followed by Top Gun. The International Quiet Storm said, for today's therapy session, the soft guy era is just a response to modern women's own hypocrisy. The more they criticize Drizzle Drizzle, the more they criticize themselves. But the modern women never take accountability, and that goes back to the narcissistic traits. Shout out to my man Machismo and the International Quiet Storm, and also followed by Top Gun, as they are the #1 sponsors of the stream. Also with Saul.
I don't recommend that for anybody. Stress is the #1 killer. I don't recommend anybody to be out here intentionally living a hard life. I don't subscribe to anybody getting with a person who's going to make life hard on them. Right? You could do all bad by yourself. Why in the world would you enter into a relationship with somebody who's going to put you through a hard life? Doesn't make sense. Date wisely.
Now, you know, Machismo may say something that really resonates. Black men have been so conditioned to identify with their mothers that even when they are being manipulated, they've been so conditioned to serve without demanding anything in return. They continue that negative cycle of degradation. You and I both have seen, we both see negative manifestations in clinical therapy. Many times we see it. I think I asked you earlier, but I want you to reiterate it. Maybe I forgot. But what is one of the most egregious things that you've seen in therapy with maybe black men or white men compromising power? What's the most egregious? You've seen a lot, but but there might be one case that you would say is the most egregious. What would that be in your opinion?
Where somebody was obviously cheating. Condoms found in the back of the car and under the bed. Texts from bosses and co-workers and stuff like that. Where somebody's saying that well, you're being controlling if you want access to my phone and stuff like that.
Right.
Just a total lack of acknowledgement and stuff like that. I mean, there is a sort of paradigm for couples who want it in therapy through the Gottman method, where people are treated for infidelity, if that's what people want. But if people aren't necessarily even admitting it, because I would say, okay, 100%, nobody can 100% prove that somebody is cheated, but there's enough to draw inference that something fishy is fucking going on. One could look at literature on micro cheating, if you all are interested in that or finding out what that is. Micro cheating, especially if you see any of these women out there behaving in such a way like that when it comes to the micro cheating, because those are usually big no-nos and ways to establish boundaries and stuff like that. Where the person would obviously say, oh well, we our schedule's busy, or your therapeutic style doesn't match what our needs are and stuff like that. And you will have the person who's actually the victim of said circumstance actually identify with their spouse and their fuckery. That's the worst. You know what I mean? Where both will turn on you for calling out the person who's actually doing all the fuckery. I find that shit hilarious. It's like, well, both y'all gonna turn on me for something that you did wrong.
Right.
Like, have you ever experienced that?
Yes, sir. I have.
It becomes a sort of, you see the narcissist codependency kind of dynamic there, and it becomes kind of like, wow, but yeah, those are some of the kind of cases where I find that's problematic.
Yeah, it is problematic. Hold tight.
Continue. Grown-ass man coming on the internet talking about some Drizzle Drizzle. Talking about some, I want my gas pumped too. I want my partner opens too. When we go on a date, I want to go 50-50. I am a damsel in distress. These hoes only want us for our money. I promise you, Drizzle Drizzle man, none of the women that are in the sprinkle, you are the caliber of men we do not want. Because what are you doing as a full-grown man, sitting in front of a camera with a ring light on a Monday morning at 10 a.m.?
I did my research on you, and it was just so easy to read you. We know what you are, but since you have so much to say about the soft guy era, it's only right I come at you. So you go to your Instagram, your whole Instagram and TikTok name is being a spoiled wife, right? But I check your Instagram, and we don't see a husband on your page. All we see is you. And it's you posting provocative. So that tells me one or two things. Either you're not really married, or you're just ashamed of the husband that you chose. So now we go into it, and it's like, okay, maybe your husband is a trick, or he's your sugar daddy, and you don't want anyone to know. Then I check your YouTube, and you're giving advice on how to maintain a sugar daddy, and it was a broke woman that had a sugar daddy, and she hasn't worked in 3 years, and you told her that she should just keep sleeping with him because she doesn't want to go back into poverty. You're telling women to sleep with a man just because he has money and she wasn't even attracted to him. Roll the clip.
2 years old and my sugar daddy is 75. We have been dating for 3 years. I have not had a job for the past 3 years. He spoils me like crazy. He buys me a new car every year. But the biggest problem is I hate having sex with him. So every time you feel cringy or feel disgusted to have sex with this man, think of Section 8. Okay? Think of Think of what it feels like to be poor. Think of what it feels like to have to get up and go to work from 5 a.m. to about 6 p.m. flipping burgers at McDonald's. Because at this point, that's the only thing he
What do you think about this narcissistic, this narcissistic parasite, man?
Hey, you know what? Guess what? Guess what? I don't feel anything one way or another because guess what? That's what she signed up for. You know, that's what she signed up for. She can complain about it, you know, let her deal with the sort of fate that she's chosen. So if she wants, you know, to, you know, mess around with that landlord or somebody who's totally undesirable, whatever the case may be, nobody's just handing out money for free. Like it's just a damn ice cream truck that rolls up on the block and say, hey, here's the money. That's it. That's all. It just don't work like that. I mean, it's the most childish thing ever. You know, even older traditional women understood that, you know, everybody had a role.
Right.
You know, I mean, you know, so, hey, I mean, more power to that brother or whatever the case may be, you know, continue, you know, giving her discounts on rent.
Oh, that's the only kind of job you can get. And nothing will break your heart more than living the soft life to poverty, okay? And poverty is not our portion. Amen? Amen. So every time you want to have sex with him, go fill out your shopping bag, go fill out your shopping cart, and then go have sex. And while you're having sex, start just thinking about the things that are in your shopping cart. You're like, oh, okay. So with every...
But the real question is, who's your husband? Why didn't you wear your ring on Instagram? Better yet, why didn't you show us all who your husband is and how old he is? Because now I'm assuming that your husband is your sugar daddy and you only married him for his money. Trophy wife, show us who is sponsoring you. How about that? Talking so crazy about the soft guy era, but your whole life is funded by an old man.
The founder of the soft guy era was Scarface Mark. He motivated men from all around the world to join the soft guy era. However, the history of the soft guy era can be dated back to Jonathan Owens. When he met his beautiful wife, Olympian Simone Biles, he forced Simone Biles to make the first move on a dating site. On a global podcast, he announced to the world that he was the catch. He made this announcement directly in front of his wife, Simone. I can't say that she denied it. For their wedding, Simone bought their matching wedding bands. She was the one that paid for their lavish wedding. Soft guys flip the script and make women pay all the bills. They pay all the bills. They take out the trash and give their men bags of money to splurge on shopping sprees. 2024 is the beginning of the soft guy era thanks to Scarface Mark. Him and Jonathan Owens have changed the rules of the dating game. Drizzle, drizzle.
Oh, major accident in my soft guy era.
I believe that men and women both have prize-worthy value. I believe that men and women both have prize, but I believe that the man is the master prize and the woman is his special prize. If that man has done the work like you and other professional white-collar and blue-collar brothers. I've used the concept that she has no power, man. And when men realize how much power they have, when do you start seeing their lives change when they realize that they have power, in your opinion?
I feel that once men realize they have power and actually start investing in themselves, that's what it boils down to. I think a lot of men realize that they actually do have power. The problem is actually investing in themselves. You know, that's what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, because, you know, stop making it feel like, you know, it is part of accomplishments seeking female validation, or that everybody's saying that you're a provider, this, that, and the other. You know, I know that there's some hardwiring that people have to fight against in order to come to those terms and stuff like that. But if we're in this environment where there's hedonism and people are being nihilistic to the point to where there's some sort of hyper individuality, we need to make those adjustments, you know, quite truthfully. Mm-hmm. You know, it boils down to that. Stop seeking female validation. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, you see it right in front of you. People don't want to deal with the sort of street level or dangers of prostitution, but this is what it is. You know, they're quote unquote soft prostitutes. They don't want to deal with the drugs. They don't want to deal with the pimps or beatings. They don't want to deal with all these other things. But it's essentially sex work, hyper optimized to the point to where they don't want to deal with all the trouble that comes with sex work.
Right.
We just got to call it what it is at this point in time. It's a culture of sex work.
Right. Shout out to my man Machismo TV for the 2. He said Simone Biles clip is fire. I see you, Coach. Appreciate it, Machismo TV. And in the words of Mr. Rogers.
It's a
Won't you be my neighbor, brother? In the words of Mr. Rogers.
It's a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood. A neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine?
And meanwhile, Mr. Rogers somewhere tearing that ass up.
Yeah, right. Hold on.
So I went to Walmart to buy a new headlamp bulb for my car. I was looking in the manual to see which exact bulb.
I'm gonna run through this real quick. Run on some of these videos, man, and it shows the power that men have. And some women get it.
Soft guy era ladies. So
some don't get it.
Soft guy era ladies.
I think that the women compliment men when they know what their power is. There's symmetry in male and female relationships, and I think men and women are better together. But a woman got to be able to regulate her emotions, something that many struggle with. But this Snow Queen is talking about the soft guy era and why women should support men. Hold tight.
Ladies, so you better be ready to step it up. He needs a haircut, you better offer to pay, send him a Venmo so he can get a fresh cut. He's at the golf course, well, buy him and his boys a round of drinks. Send him that Venmo. He needs a car wash, well, offer to detail his car or take his car through the car wash. He's hungry, make him or buy him food. Make sure you prepare him food that has extra protein. You guys love protein. Men love to be surprised with gifts just like women do. So does he want a new car part? Buy him a new car part. Pretty much just gift wrap him a gift that you think he will like. He's tired, let him take a nap on the couch. He doesn't want to do yard work or mow the lawn, offer to pay for a gardener. These are easy things that you could do to help your man be in his soft guy era. Men are now understanding their worth. It's time to step it up if you want your man to stay. Drizzle, drizzle.
And you know what? Once again, too many men are giving their power away. Women in other countries, they understand the importance of having men. They respect men. They respect traditional relationships. But sadly, American men don't understand how much power that they have. When you travel abroad, man, you're a world traveler. You're a highly educated brother, and I'm sure you've traveled. What is the biggest difference that you've seen? Number one, the biggest difference that you're seeing in Western women versus foreign women. That's number one. And that number two, how has dealing with feminine women benefited you mentally?
I would say dealing with non-Western women is a sort of, I guess, being a little more demure, not automatically just agitated, or there's this sort of, they actually do fear men. There's some sort of fearful respect of men. Not that, we're going to actually do anything to them per se, but there's some sort of level of respect there,
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I would also say is, being catered to, whether it's being served or being affectionate, being respectful and things like that. They really adore men in their cultures and whatnot. So I would encourage that. Now, you had a second question.
I was saying, when you did travel, how did that impact you mentally when it comes down to dealing with feminine women?
Oh,
when men come together.
I would much rather.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that there's some other options out there that you don't have to take this shit. I mean, that's one of those things where if you know better, you do better. I mean, just bottom line. I mean, it's almost like going and getting like freaking homemade ice cream versus ice cream out of the box or soft serve and whatnot. Once you actually do know better, you start treating yourself better and saying, "I don't have to take this shit." You become a little more confident. Like you like going somewhere with that shit. Honestly, I mean, you tell
Right. And this new reverse psychology that we're seeing, man, not only is it powerful, but it proves my point that she really doesn't have any power, but the power that you give her. In theology, Saul, they say if you resist the devil, he'll flee from you. A lot of men are resisting the modern devil in the form of she-heathenry. That's your word. She-heathenry. They're rebuking the devil. But look at this narcissistic trait of this current modern woman. And let's break it down. Hold tight.
Mostly men know their place and own the fact that they don't have the masculine characteristics to actually provide for a woman and be the leader of a family. It's gonna make dating for women a lot easier. I've had so many girls that stay in relationships for years because the guy convinces them that they're a provider even when they're not providing. And they future project to these women and they're like, yes, when we're married and when we have kids, I'm gonna buy you everything and you're gonna be a stay-at-home mom, just for that to never happen.
Drizzle Drizzle means you and your friends got finessed, baby girl. All fair in love and war. You know what happens all the time. Drizzle Drizzle means you have to have better fashion than the king, baby girl. Cat's out of the bag, literally. This is a limited edition Louis Vuitton pocket square that they only made 30 of. And this shoebox here might be equal to your net worth because not only is there Louis Vuitton, there's Brioni, there's Hugo Boss, there's Etra.
Now, Saul, you know about swag, man. You got expensive taste. You're a high value man. And I know you flex on these birds, man, when they try to put you to shame, man. But they call this man the Drizzle King, the Drizzle of Oz. They call this man the Drizzle of Oz. But what do you think about what this woman said a minute ago, man? What do you think about her pronouncement?
Quite honestly, I missed that for a hot sec. You mind running that clip again?
I'll run it back. Hold tight.
I would much rather dusty men know their place and own the fact that they don't have the masculine characteristics to actually provide for a woman and be the leader of a family. It's gonna make dating for women a lot easier. I've had so many girls that stay in relationships for years because the guy convinces them that they're a provider even when they're not providing. And they future project to these women and they're like, yes, when we're married and when we have kids, I'm gonna buy you everything and you're gonna be a stay-at-home mom, just for that to never happen.
Drizzle Drizzle means you and your friends got.
What do you think about what this woman said, man? More shaming language and weaponizing language.
I mean, hey, everything's fun until the rabbit got the gun. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so, salute to those guys. You know what I mean? They made it work for them. And, she's just agitated about it. But, she's going to say this. But meanwhile, she'll probably be the first one to go and get a BBC from somebody who's fresh out of jail.
Right.
Or get a homosexual. So, at a certain point, you know what I mean? Once again, I'm of the orientation that, let them womp. And I don't even want to, allow them to enter any of those that energy, those concepts, those ideas or anything like that. I'm going to invest into myself by going to a place where my stature, my role, and who I am is reinforced rather than me validating somebody else who honestly don't give a shit about me or in the interest of building. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is why there's other societies intact and less chaotic because they don't have the bullshit that we got going on.
You said hold on?
No, I said going on.
Right. I totally agree. Hold tight.
Got finessed, baby girl. All fair in love and war. You know what happens all the time. Drizzle Drizzle means you have to have better fashion than the king, baby girl. Cat's out of the bag, literally. This is a limited edition Louis Vuitton pocket square that they only made 30 of. And this shoebox here might be equal to your net worth because not only is there Louis Vuitton, there's Brioni, there's Hugo Boss, there's Etro, and there's so much more, baby girl. Drizzle Drizzle means I'm keeping my wealth out of your reach like those Birkin bags. We're putting a burqa on the Bentley. You can't see it until you put a ring on that finger, baby girl. And it better be carats. If I broke those geodes up into carats, this would be $20 million of amethyst. Baby girl, get ready to spend because Mars is in retrograde. Peace, love, and drizzle. We out.
I would much rather Dusty Men.
You know, you talk about the deception and how many about face, and they actually seduce men into thinking that they really have their best interests. I created a term called affection deprivation. A lot of men struggle and suffer through affection deprivation, which in essence compromises their power. What are some fundamental things that men can do not to fall prey back to simping again because of affection deprivation? What are some fundamental things that men can do not to fall prey because of affection deprivation, in your opinion?
I would say workout is one way to actually, not like that. I hate to say it like this. I know people talk about monk mode, but I mean, it shouldn't be something that, should be prolonged or anything like that, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, have a goal or something that you're going to with it. But working out could be monk mode. It could be, being honest with, people that you do deal with as far as where you stand. You know what I mean? And if you need to get one off, you get one off. Or just simply traveling overseas to meet people if you're looking at engaging in, some type of building. But if you're giving weight to affection, you will only fall victim to affection deprivation if you're giving that weight to it, to be honest with you.
Right. When you saw the soft guy era taking off in its full manifestation, what salient talking points was ruminating through your mind when you saw the soft guy era taking off and getting so much steam? What salient points was ruminating through your head?
The salient points was one, invest in yourself. Two, actually demonstrating to other people how you're being treated. You know what I mean? Actually, the fact that they're being laughed at. You know what I mean? Yes, it started off as sarcasm, but you have some guys out there who are actually pushing the envelope further and who are serious about it. And I commend them. You know what I mean? I salute them for doing so.
What do you mean? Break that down a little bit more.
Who are actually, taking care of themselves or having these sorts of expectations out of these ladies now.
Right. So you're saying that they're beginning to demand more.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, I want my bread with no ends.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want a grilled cheese sandwich. It's 2 a.m. You see what I'm saying? So I don't blame them. I don't blame these brothers.
I think women feel more useful when they are serving the men in a healthy way. She served him on the front end, he served her on the back end. What would you say about that?
If you don't see yourself as somebody who serves, and you've been brainwashed with, a sort of pseudo ideology or whatnot, then, people even go counter to what's even natural for them. Because, they get with their girlfriends and stuff like that. They're told that they're a slave or this, that, and the third. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I agree with that. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So even if it's something like, taking care of their children, being nurturing or whatever the case may be, they actually fight what is natural and what would be prudent for them to do to appease the godocratic sensibilities of groupthink. So although they may like it, one has to actually still push the envelope as far as what the expectation is.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from having fathers and strong strong communities. We live in a gynocracy. We know we live in one. The world is changing right before our eyes. And you know, if you had to do a prognostication before we end this stream, how do you see things ending for modern women, Saul, if we continue on this current trajectory?
I think that we would more or less like globalize our sort of imprint as far as, you know, men in American culture, and, you know, considering other options, and, you know, people are going to continue to do what they're doing, and they're going to find out what sort of unhealthy outcomes are out there, you know, whether it's retirement or care or not necessarily having a family. They're actually going to the road of loneliness at this point. And I think that, you know, it's funny how ideology works when it comes to the real world with real people, and, you know, these sorts of dynamics and stuff. And, you know, they're going to learn. They're going to learn the hard way.
No doubt, no doubt. Before I let you go, man, what did you get out of this stream, and also the power of reverse psychology before we end this stream? And thank you once again for supporting the stream and all the brothers that showed up early on. How would you respond to that before I let you go?
I would say that, you know, the power of reverse psychology is, you know, basically using sarcasm as a tool to actually point out like the sort of ridiculousness of the sort of demands, you know, at the end of the day, you know, how laughable they are. Because when you try to use logic, when you try to use reason, when you tried moral appeals, you tried religious ideology, like, you know, but even religious ideology has been compromised too. You tried all these different strategies to have people listen, and, you know, it's falling on deaf ears. And this is the most like effective way of actually, you know, illustrating the point. Then I say, so be it. You know, I think that, you know, men should double down and actually be serious about it. I mean, there's enough women out there now who's desperate who would actually, you know, concede to this. And, you know, good for those guys, you know, because not everybody's going to go and get a passport, right? You know, I mean, I say take it even a step further. You know, for the men out there who's doing it, don't sign any prenups. Actually demand that your name is on that house. And don't sign any prenups for the men who are out there doing this.
Right. And I will sum it up by saying, man, I think this will sum it up. The OJ said it better than me. You got to give the people what they want. Hold tight. Give the people what they want.
And now she's turned out, lost and turned out.
She's lost and turned out. It's a lot of lost and turned out chicks in modern America, man. Thus has begun to rise with the soft guy era. Before we end the stream, any last closing comments before I let you go, brother? And thank you once again for your being gracious with your time and your support. Shout out to Machismo TV. Shout out to Salty Balls being the number one. I mean, Top Gun being the number one sponsor, followed by Salty Balls and then the other brothers. I'm gonna read that out in a minute. But any closing comments before I let you go?
I say thanks for having me up. You know, it was a great way to, you know, really peel back the onion as far as the psychology associated with this. I say shout out to the people in the chat, you know, the day ones, the people are here who are actually consuming the content, and the people who are on the replay game. I want to give a special acknowledgement to the people who actually supported this stream today.
Yes, sir.
And you know, support Kosher's content. Anywhere you could be on a Sunday, you choose to be here.
Yes.
Myself and Kosher.
Yes,
I would say we're the only authority of Black male therapy in this space. Nobody else. Okay.
Yes,
you will see other Black men or whatnot. And you know, they actually, you know, speak on it, and I give it to them. But if it's not necessarily somebody who reflect this sort of demographic, one has to question their motives. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. Shout out also to Nelson Council. He's another brother, but you're correct. I don't think people realize the value that you and I give, and we're gonna start doing more of these. We'll probably have some more live call-ins in the future, but I really appreciate it, man. What you just said, and it's true. I say appeal to the higher authority. You got licensed clinical professionals breaking down this concept of the soft guy era and why so many men are checking out. But guys, we're gonna sign off. Thank you, Saul. I know you got to go, brother. And I'll see you around, brother. Thank you, sir.
All right, brother. Happy
Sunday. All right, be well. All right, guys, we're going to end this stream in a minute. Thank you, guys, to the 12 that are watching. Thank you to the 12 that are watching once again. And I'm going to call out to all the #1 sponsors. I got to give them a wrench. Yeah, I'll put it in Top Gun. International Quiet Storm. But you're right. Give him the silent treatment. You're right. But once again, shout out to Top Gun. He's the #1 sponsor. We're going to read some of these super chats real quick before we end this stream. So shout out to Top Gun, once again, being the #1 sponsor, followed by Salty Balls. Top Gun again for the 5. Top Gun for the 5 again. Top Gun for the 5. Shout out to Salty Balls for the 10. Shout out to Machismo TV for the 10. Machismo TV again. The International Quiet Storm. And Machismo TV. So we got the #1 sponsor and Top Gun, followed by Machismo TV. Followed by the International Quiet Storm. So guys, this has been another good one. It's been a great one. I really appreciate the love and support. And guys, the soft guy era is going to just continue, man, because Corey Holcomb said it better than me. Once they get contaminated by the modern world and modern America, guys, y'all know it, and we know it. You can't delete the ski.
Nigga ass, loser ass nigga.
Your video with comments about a
He's a
certain
loser.
other female.
Just to let you niggas know, we don't need y'all. We want y'all, but we don't need you.
20 years later.
Our black men, we want all y'all back. Because we love you, we see you, kings, and most importantly, we need you. And most importantly, we need you.
And most importantly, we need you.
You can't.
If you a that's for the streets.
You can't delete the ski. You can't delete the ski.
I know a who used to suck dick every mother night.
Channel and I look at who's in there making comments, right? And what I would almost say to you, brother, is just in terms of a thought, is I think there's a reason why men resonate with your message more than women, because I don't really hear the kind of intelligent, constructive advice that I think you're capable of when I see your commentary. I see a lot of stuff that could come off as woman bashing, right? Like that, just the little video I
Well, listen, I appreciate that, Quiet Storm. I'm honored that you said that, man, because doing these shows are not easy. It's not easy doing these shows, man. And I am a licensed therapist, and this is edutainment for me, using clinical concepts from an ethnocentric perspective. And so, man, I'm honored that you said that, man. I really appreciate that, brother. Thank you, the Quiet Storm. You and I have talked in the back, and I got nothing but love and respect for you. You, Gregory Scott, Salty Balls, and membership channel of the Kosher Clinician. There are 4 levels to this channel. There is Kosher Novice, Kosher Apprentice, Kosher Master, and the highest honors is Kosher King. You guys know I am the Kosher Clinician, and everything I do or strive to do is fit and proper. But many times we know that YouTube is a very competitive business. Some get it from the mud like me, some actually steal talking points, or more or less parrot talking points without consent or giving credence to the person that did the actual work. And because of that, I'm going to start making most of my content membership only to the great guys like Gregory Scotland, The Quiet Storm, my man Saul, and many others that always donate to the channel. Feel free to click on the link to the membership button. It'll give you all the explicit instructions that you need. And continue to enjoy content like this as listed to the top as we continue to strive to empower men from all ages and all ages. You know and I know that creating content takes a lot of time. And in order for me to ensure that my time is merited, to ensure that you guys are getting the best content to those, especially those that donate and show love on a regular basis, I've taken upon myself to take my craft seriously, or very serious, and to more or less ensure that you, the faithful listeners, men and women, but mostly men, are getting the best content possible so that you can not only get your needs met, but also so that I can ensure that I get the proper revenue, as these streams take a lot of time and they take a lot of work. And I need you guys to understand this. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become optimized, and understanding why becoming a member of this prestigious channel is paramount as we seek for resolve in times when male-centered content is not only under attack, but so is masculinity. Be well.
Fire for your mind. The kosher clinician.
If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toast them. Young heads picking back up and young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Asking fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters acting like vultures. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.